Welcome tape shaggers. Quick little video, my first impressions on this Akai Professional MG614, a 6-channel mixer 4-track recorder it says on the front. This is a unit that I've long heard about but never seen in the wild before. It's in for repair. The owner is Adrian, who you may know from the YouTube channel We Happy Few Music. I haven't done any research in the making of this video in terms of looking at manuals or reviews or anything. I know a little bit about this unit just from seeing people talk about it in forums and Facebook groups and stuff like that. And I suppose at some point in this channel I will do a proper review, sound demo, all that kind of stuff. I'm about to do a teardown, but for now I thought I'd just talk through my impression of the layout of the unit, the mix of features, all that kind of stuff. So I'll go from the top left down to the bottom right, feature by feature, before consulting with a special guest expert at the end. So here we are on the top left of the unit, and we've got direct track outs for all 4 tracks on the cassette. Those are RCA sockets. Then we've got 1/4" jack sockets for input mic or line level signals. I'm not exactly sure what the ACC acronym is, but it looks like it's a insert the send receive, so that'll be expecting a stereo jack attached to a Y cable. I'm not able to tell just by looking at it where this insert point is, whether it's post fader, post EQ, just after the preamp. I'll go into those sorts of details when I eventually review the unit. In tracks 1 through 4 we have the input of having the mixer channel off, taking an input from the 1/4" jack, or receiving an input from the cassette track. Channels 5 and 6 are different. We can either turn them off or we can switch between either an XLR socket, balanced here, or the 1/4" input jack. I'm not seeing a switch anywhere on the unit for 48 volt phantom power, so I guess these are just balanced XLR inputs. They're not actually capable of driving a condenser mic or some other microphone that required phantom power. If you had that sort of a mic, you'd need a preamp that could supply phantom power to it, and that preamp would have to output a line level signal, which you could then bring in on one of these sockets here. So we've got a dual band parametric EQ. Doesn't appear to have any control over the Q, but that's standard for Porta studios and things. The range on these is really wide, so 800 Hz all the way up to 10k, plus or minus 15 dB of gain for the higher band, and for the lower band it goes all the way down to 40 Hz and up to 1.5 kHz. Feature that I like is it seems that the EQ is defeatable, so you can A/B test what effect the EQ is having on your sound. And then we've got a pair of effect sends per channel. Here are the effect sends and returns. The sends are coming out on 1/4" sockets, and the effect returns are on 1/4" sockets as well, which I like. I noticed that the effect receive 1 and 2 are both stereo. I can't actually think of any other units where you have dual stereo returns like that. That's a feature I like a lot. There's also an auxiliary input. Seems to be buttons down here which decide whether the effect receives and the auxiliary inputs are included along with the input from the tracks on the master fader down here. There's master levels for the effects. These knobs here control the overall level coming back from these pairs presumably. And then we've got tape sync in and out. That's so that we could synchronize this unit up to MIDI using FSK. I assume this came out, late 80s, early 90s, but at that time, if you wanted to integrate MIDI program stuff with tape, then a feature like that would have been very helpful. I'm pulling the camera back far enough so that we can see all the faders here. These have quite a nice feel to them, quite different to the Porta Studios that I'm used to working. Feels like there's a bulkier component under there. 6 mixer channel faders here, 2 buses, the master fader. Each of the mixer channels can be assigned to bus A or bus B or both. When we get over here we'll see that the record enable switches allow us to select whether we are recording from bus A or bus B. So I guess they've got these 2 buses so that we can have 2 separate mixes coming from the same mixer. I suppose I'd have to get a bit more familiar with the machine, use it a bit before I could think up any sort of roleplay scenarios about how we might apply that in a useful way during a recording. There's a monitor section over here. Some of these buttons are mutually exclusive. We can only monitor effect 1 or effect 2 at once. That seems to make sense. Can't listen to bus A and B at the same time as the effect. That makes sense. Can't listen to track, which I would assume means this Q mix over here and what's coming out of bus A and B at the same time. Here we have the cassette player. If I push this eject button, nothing happens, which I suppose means that the eject facility is driven by a motor or a solenoid or something. The door for this cassette player isn't on properly, so I don't want to play with that too much. Oh yeah, it's coming off there. But this is interesting and unusual. The heads and the pinch roller at the top of the mechanism does look as though the cassette would still be inserted in that direction, but it's much more common for the head array and the pinch roller to be situated underneath the cavity rather than above. This button would appear to change whether we're seeing the level of the 4 tracks on the cassette individually or stereo out and the effects in buses on this pair. It's DBX noise reduction, which we can defeat with this button. There's a high and low tape speed. I assume that's 3 3/4 inches per second and 1 7/8 inches per second. Here we can see that there are record arms. There's one button below that and then the AB LED. So I guess if you hold down shift and press these, then you would choose whether the tape track is accepting a signal from submix A or submix B on a per track basis. Down here are the transport controls. Nice big buttons. Looks like we've got 1, 2, 3, 4 different memory locations. Facilities to repeat a section, rehearse punch-in points. I'm not exactly sure what auto monitor is, but it will be something to do with rehearsal. There's just a single headphone socket, 1/4 inch, and a 1/4 inch socket for a punch in out pedal, so you could use your foot to enter and exit record mode without taking your hands off your instrument if you're recording alone, I presume. And this is my absolute favourite feature. It's an actual cushioned wrist rest. I'm unfeasibly excited by this. A little side view for you. Very thick plastic. Most of these surfaces seem to be metal. We'll get into all that when I tear the thing down. I don't know if you can see the scale of this, but it must be about 60 centimetres square at the top, about 25 centimetres deep. It's the heaviest of these units I've picked up, with the exception of the 688. I guess it must be weighing at least 12, 13 kilograms, something like that. On the face of it, this has got a set of features which is quite close to 246, 424 Mark III, these sorts of units. It's absolutely enormous, it's really heavy. I do like the combination of features on the face of it. I do like the aesthetic. I'm an MPC owner, so the fact that it's made by Akai kind of tickles me at some level. I think I'd like it more if it was about 2/3 of the size and 2/3 of the weight, but maybe in use, providing I had the space in my studio, I would find the fact that this is really the sort of scale that you would see on more kind of pro-end studio equipment. Maybe I would grow to like that. Because it's quite rare, I suppose it's the sort of thing that spares might be a problem with. I have no idea what it's going to be like inside, whether it's going to be difficult to take apart, how familiar it's going to seem compared to the mostly Tascam, quite a bit of Fostec stuff that I'm more used to looking at. That is a question I will answer in the teardown video to follow. But before we finish the video, I'm going to pass you over to our special guest expert, which is my furry son, Willow the Cat. What do you think about the Akai, Willow? Oh, is it lovely? You're one of the best 4-tracks of all time. Willow, it's a really awesome 4-track. Yeah, oh, you like it? Oh, yeah, it's a good 4-track. Oh, good boy. It's a good 4-track, yeah. Now, you can scoff at Willow's thoughts about this if you like, but the hard truth is that cat has rubbed up against more multitrack cassette recorders than 90% of my audience. So his enthusiasm for this unit is not trivial. Please do subscribe if you'd like to see a more detailed video about this unit in the future. Teardown's definitely coming. May get a recording demo tutorial at some point. I've got lots of content along those lines and other makes and models. Have a look at the channel, please. Thanks for watching. Hope to see you again soon.